our good friend Martha Zoller, one of the top radio hosts in the state of Georgia. WDUN is where her throne is. Queen Martha.
Hey, Todd. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm great. Staying dry here.
You know, it's interesting. We were going through, President Trump was wondering if Jasmine Crockett was related to Davy Crockett, which has created all sorts of conversations, as you might imagine. But I want to talk about Georgia politics. And Martha, it's insane down there right now. It's just absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I mean, so when Governor Kemp decided not to run for the Senate, what it did was create kind of a fruit basket turnover. People from, other places deciding to run, people running for other offices that they hadn't planned to because of the offices that had opened up. So we're starting to see things settle down just a little bit now. We know kind of how these races are going to run out. We've got the couple of people at the top of the ticket running for governor. We may have another one get into that. Brad Raffensperger, the Secretary of State, may get into that governor's race. Then the Senate race has got 3 Republicans. It's got Mike Collins, who I would say right now is the front runner in the race. We've got Buddy Carter, who's also a congressman, who's from the 1st District, who's been working hard to get his name recognition up and got a lot of his own money. But I would say he's in 3rd place. And the fruit basket turnover happened when Governor Kemp got behind Derek Dooley, who's the son of Vince Dooley, as sort of an outsider candidate, sort of a David Perdue kind of candidate for Senate. Derek is a lawyer by trade. He's been a football coach. He's been back in Georgia for several years since the end of his coaching career. And I don't know him that well, and I'm not speaking out of school here. What I've told them is that his team, that we need to get to know him better. But I would say if the primary were held today, that because of name ID, it would probably be Mike Collins and Derek Dooley in a runoff.
There's been a lot of concern from folks about just the name recognition and the popularity of the candidate. And this has been a problem party-wide, I think. Martha is trying to find, popular yet electable or appealing yet electable candidates. And in some cases, just hard to do. You've been covering politics here for a really long time. Who do you think is going to have the edge?
I think that right now what we've got to know is what does Derek Dooley stand for. I mean, he did a great ad to introduce himself that came out yesterday. He talks about being a common sense conservative and being with Donald Trump and that sort of thing, but he doesn't really have a record. And so what he's got to do is convince the electorate that that he's the guy. But like I said, I think that Mike Collins has raised a lot of money. He has got a very big social media platform, which I think right now he is testing things to see what's going to work in an election, okay? Because social media is hard, to know exactly what impact it's going to have. But he's testing a lot of things, and I think that we're going to see what happens. So I'm not trying to avoid your question. It's just I think it's a 2-man race right now between Derek Dooley and Mike Collins.
When you look at the Democrats, and a lot of people still can't figure out, they have a hard time understanding how Georgia has 2 Democrat senators. Does Ossoff, does he have the popularity to win?
Well, he has, I will say, to say something nice, is he has very good constituent services. I will say that. But he is alienated. He's Jewish, but he has alienated his Jewish base, which there's a big Jewish population in Atlanta, and he has alienated the Jewish base by voting against arms for Israel twice. He lost that vote. 18 senators, Democratic senators, voted against it a few months ago, and 27 voted against it last week. And he has got people in the Jewish community very mad at him, which is big in Atlanta, and it's big as far as money's concerned. His campaigning is very far left right now, because what he is trying to do is keep a opponent out of this race from his left. He doesn't want to siphon off any of the crazy Atlanta voters.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what he's trying to avoid right now. So far, he has avoided an opponent. But again, qualifying is not until March. So you could have, who knows, somebody could come up at the last minute and qualify.
This is going to be interesting. Meanwhile, you've got Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene making headlines, saying that she feels like the Republican Party has left her. And a lot of Republicans, I think Mark Levin, chief among them, saying, don't let the door hit you. How are her comments going over in Georgia?
Yeah, she made a lot of comments about, that maybe women aren't being treated fairly in the Republican Party, and she's all over the place, and one of my biggest complaints about Marjorie Taylor Greene from the beginning is that she has and again, I've had this conversation with her myself. She has a lot of experience running a third generation construction business, which is a man's world, okay? And she's been successful at it, and she never talks about it. She just recently has started talking about it. And I think that she could have had a much different view that people had of her if she talked more about her business experience and less about who she's mad at the moment. And we'll see what happens with that. But she's in the 14th district, which means she has that seat for as long as she wants it. It's a plus 22 or 23% Republican district. So as long as she runs, she's going to be safe. But I think she's pretty well excluded herself from any statewide office at this point in time.
Is that right? Just because of her demeanor, or is she not well known outside of her district?
Well, she's well known, but her negatives are really, really high. And I think that right now, I don't see her running for anything statewide. Now, she could change her mind by March and do something different. And it does seem like she's making a lot more noise about problems she has in the Republican Party. I don't think President Trump has said anything about it yet. But I don't think where I see President Trump getting involved is in Senate and House races. I don't think he's going to be as involved in governor's races. And what most people have been talking about her for is possibly running from the right in the governor's race.
Oh, that would be, it was interesting, Martha. I was doing the math here. If that happens, you could end up having a situation where you have Sarah Huckabee Sanders in Arkansas, Marsha Blackburn in Tennessee, MTG in Georgia, and of course Kay Ivey she's term limited, so she's not running for. But you could have a situation where you could have many of the southern states with female governors.
Yeah, and I tell you, I just love watching Sarah Sanders. I think that she is doing such a great job as a governor. And, I know our friend Joe McCutcheon likes to always say who's going to be president, but I see her as the first female president.
Is that right?
Yes.
Martha, I'm writing this down. Sarah Sanders.
Okay. And it may not be in 28 because she's plenty young to wait. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I see her as being the person that's electable.
She's done a good job in Arkansas, and I'm a property owner in Arkansas, so I can tell you from that vantage point, she's doing a great job. Another person I've been really impressed with, and I know she got a little bit of blowback from the State of the Union rebuttal, but it's Katie Britt out of Alabama. I think she's doing a good job. She's
super nice too, and she is. She's raised a family. She is, it's hard doing that State of the Union rebuttal. It's a big difference being in that big room, even if you're Joe Biden. Being in that big room makes you look better than having to sit in your kitchen and do it. But I like Katie Britt a lot. I've met her several times, and she actually really helped Mike Collins get the Lake and Riley Act across the finish line in the Senate. And, even though he was the champion of that from the day of her tragic death, he needed help in the Senate, and our Georgia senators did not step up and help him, but Katie Britt did.
Martha Zoller from our great affiliate WTUN, she's one of the top political pundits in the South. Can I call you the Southeast? Really the nation, but you specialize in Southern politics.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I love accolades anywhere I get them.
You're the boss. Yeah. No. Before we let you go, though, I'm wondering how important is it going to be for the Republican Party nationally to win back at least one of the Senate seats in Georgia? We've got to win it back. And,
I ask this question all the time, that when you see Fetterman, who is from a swing state, who had one of those 52-48 wins, and you see him not being a 50-50 voter, but he is intellectually honest about the fact he's got a lot of Republican voters in his state, okay? What we've seen from both Warnock and Ossoff is 100% voting with the Democratic Party, and not only that, but taking very far left positions on the 80%, issues that like trans boys in sports and all of those kinds of things. And I just, the question I always ask is, don't you think if you come from a state where it's 51-49 or 52-48, that you ought to a little bit represent that in your voting record? But these two in Georgia have not. So we have to get him out. And here, let me leave you with something positive. Georgia's not afraid to turn out one-term senators. We have, in the last 25 years, we have gotten rid of two Democrats and two Republicans after one term when they didn't do their job. So I'm looking to add John Ossoff's name to that list.
Wow. All right. Well, we're going to be paying attention, Martha. It's an important state, and you're right. It's look, I think the party is learning its lessons. We're kind of going, I don't know, through a change, a metamorphosis. Trump has changed the Republican Party, and we're just going to have to adjust and figure out how to win moving forward.
Well, and just like there was nobody that could be Ronald Reagan in the 20 years after, we had to do something different. Nobody's going to be Donald Trump. He is a once-in-a-lifetime type candidate. But you can have the ideas that Donald Trump had, and you can continue the work that he did. And that's what we need to be looking for going forward.
Yeah, that's it. All right, Martha, good hearing from you, and we'll be checking back in as the midterms loom.
Thank you, Todd.